Hello and welcome, Mr. Janssen. My first question will start on the issue of cultural diplomacy. So Global Compact acts as a platform for the exchange of ideas and best practices, notably in the business world, but also takes into account human rights, labor, environment, and anti-corruption. Would you therefore consider that the use of cultural diplomacy is applicable to your organization, to Global Compact?
Well, in a broader sense, certainly yes, because we are acting on the global level, and what we're having to do is to translate the rather complicated aspects and concepts of sustainability into the national context. So this translation needs quite a lot of diplomacy or cultural. I'm looking for the German expression, but you have to be very culturally conscious that there are differences between cultures to communicate a globally binding set of principles. So yes, but I think the big challenge here is to come to a practical translation. What you mean by cultural diplomacy? Don't ask me now, please. I believe that we are doing it without calling it cultural diplomacy.
Okay, thank you.
What do you believe to be the most prominent trends in Germany today regarding practices of corporate social responsibility? Do you think there is much room for improvement? What can German companies learn from other nations?
3 questions. The most prominent trends, it's very difficult to say. What we see is that the concept of corporate social responsibility or sustainability for the private sector is gaining momentum on a broader scale. Quite a few years ago it was a niche market of companies who actively engaged in the concept of protecting human rights and looking into the labor laws, environment and so on. But it is out of this niche now that especially the big companies, but also the mid-sized companies, small and medium-sized enterprises are investing in sustainability issues without always calling it corporate social responsibility. They're doing quite a lot, which doesn't mean that there is no room for improvement. There are certain aspects, when we look at the pace of change, because when we talk about looking at the global level, looking at climate change, we need major changes in the whole economic systems, and we are asking ourselves, is the changes fast enough to really mitigate, for example, climate change, or are we already in the process of adaptation? Because it's inevitable that it will happen already, and shift the focus. So I think bringing it to scale is a very big topic nowadays. We are not talking about what to do. I think most of the companies, or at least the people who should know what they should do, where are the things they could change. The thing is really to bridge the knowing-doing gap. What we can learn from other countries, it's always a difficult topic. We have a discussion between what is voluntary and what is compulsory and regulated. I think other companies or other countries are seeing this in a much less strict way and more flexible when it comes to this. Otherwise, topic-wise, the push has to come more also from the government side, to setting the framework condition for sustainable development also in Germany.
Okay, thank you. So one of Global Compact's 10 principles is dedicated to the protection and promotion of human rights by enterprises. So how is this respect for human rights regulated on such a large scale?
Well, in fact, there are 2 of the principles are focusing on human rights. And if you look at the principles 3 to 6, they are concerning the labor standards. They also cover quite a large aspects of human rights. What we see is that in Germany itself, the basics of the human rights agenda are set in national law. So the companies, it's a compliance issue, are very strict and easy. Well, if you do not adhere to the basic principles of human rights enshrined in law, then you go to jail. It's that easy. I think the big challenges lay in the responsibility of companies for the supply chains. Well, we say, okay, I have a contract with the company, and with this contract, I'm fine, and I'm not responsible for what other companies are doing, which whom we are in a contractual relationship, and this frontier or this barrier is breaking apart, so that companies become increasingly responsible for the behavior of their suppliers. So there is the need for supply chain due diligence increasingly. Yeah, I think this is the construction side just now.
Okay. Coming to youth unemployment, since the onset of the economic crisis, has the UN Global Compact devised any specific policies geared at the issues of youth unemployment?
Not that I know of. I know of that in a few severely or heavily affected countries, especially in Spain and maybe also in Greece. I don't know about Greece, that they try to bring up programs, especially addressing youth unemployment. But as I said in the discussion earlier on the podium, it's not so much an issue that companies can directly influence, because it's the framework conditions that has to be right. What we see is that not the UN Global Compact. Well, we are addressing the topic of diversity, but this does not directly address youth unemployment. Youth unemployment is a very big topic in Germany, or the other way around, that a lot of companies cannot get their hold on qualified workers and employees. But there is no, as far as I know, on the Global Compact, UN Global Compact level, a program that addresses youth unemployment. We see that it is a huge problem, also from the cultural aspects of and social adhesion things, but no.
Okay. My question is on corporate cultural diplomacy. So corporate cultural diplomacy activities are privately funded programs which encourage the exchange of cultural practices and values, ultimately promoting intercultural dialogue and respect. And it covers a wide spectrum of diverse fields and stakeholders. So to what extent do you think private sector corporations should engage in corporate cultural diplomacy practices, and in what way does corporate social investment help to strengthen intercultural relations in our increasingly interdependent and mobile world?
That was a very short question and much to the point. As I said before, I believe that especially big companies that have an international talent management system are applying instruments of cultural diplomacy already very thoroughly. This is what they do. It's already part of also of their balanced scorecard. This is how they manage diverse workforces, and they have to work on these topics. To make the company a global player, you have to include different cultural aspects within your companies. You cannot, as I said before, just export and expect that this business model is sustainable. If you go into another country, if you go into another region, if you go into other cultural contexts, you have to be able to communicate on a meaningful and appropriate way with societies and your business partners in this context. And if you cannot do that, you will be, at least on the long run, out of business. So I think this is, in professional HR, this is an important topic, talent management. What kind of people, what are the qualifications we need? Right? It's not just the technical qualifications, it has to be to do with communication, it has to be languages, it has to be people who are, well, light on their feet when it comes to do business with other cultures. Corporate social investment. I don't even know what that means, it can mean quite a few things, right?
Probably means funding for cultural activities, sponsoring events, cultural events.
Okay, this is from my perspective. This is not my core business for the Global Compact, because we are focusing on changing the business models of companies, right, to make the thing more sustainable. When it comes to well, this is philanthropy with a certain goal, right? We want to, well, image of the company, but also do good in a certain way. I'm not sure. I think it is important that there is money coming into it, but the business case for funding this out of corporate social investment, philanthropy, will vary from company to company. Will be a management decision, or the owner decides that they want to finance a certain project. I think this is also a marketing opportunity or a marketing challenge for the ICD. To say, okay, where is our value added for companies? So why should I as a company give money to the ICD or somebody else? You have to explain that to me.
Thank you. Moving on to our last question. Two of the main themes of this conference are nation branding and sustainable development. How much potential does nation branding hold for emerging markets? Also, do you believe that the use of nation branding can help overcome the economic downturn many European countries have suffered in recent years?
No. No, as I said before, when it comes to nation branding, it is from my perspective, and I did my PhD on nation branding and product country images, is a mostly marketing related issue, and the problems facing the hardest hit economies in Europe and around the world cannot be solved by marketing measures. It's like trying to make a tourist, well, it's a bit harsh, right? Make a tourist campaign for Egypt just wouldn't work today, because the framework condition for sustainable development are not there. I think, and also nation branding is not a short-term process. When you look at the image of France, it has been built over hundreds of years with all the aspects attached to it, positive and negative, right? The same is true for Italy or any other country. And then you have to really look at this kind of thing from the marketing perspective. The other perspective you can have is you look at it from the political perspective at nation branding. You can say, okay, as a politician, it is a very rewarding project for me to support nation branding of my nation or of my Bundesland in Germany. But if you put it to the output-input table, what is really coming out of it? The money, the return, the economic return, is very long-term and very difficult to measure. I think it is easier to destroy the brand of a nation than to build it, as with all other things also. Yeah. So I think keeping your brand and slowly developing it, not rushing it, is important. And for what it is good? Tourism, certainly, okay. Certain products, okay. But what else? I think it's have to have a business plan behind it.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Dr. Janssen. It was an honor and privilege to have you here with us today, and thank you for taking out the time.